All right. Hey guys, it's Michael. Go ahead and do this thing. This is my presentation for community security in Alaska. All right. So first off, we have our definition. On the left-hand side, you can go ahead and see what I came up for my definition, which I think is that community security is the working effort of individuals that have commonality to work towards a goal and safeguard it from their threats. This is mainly because some communities we don't see living with each other. Communities of people that have interests in a certain topic or hobby or lifestyle that maybe can't live together. Mainly when we talk about community security, we will look at specific areas of people that have to work together to assure their total security as a whole. On your right hand side, you can also see I found a good article through a company or a group called Safer World, and they do a really good job of explaining some things that really discuss how it goes into human security, how community security is not just one aspect of human security; it is all of them. Not one aspect does not influence the other, and that it takes a great deal from not only the people in the community, but members of the state, people that are making laws, that are giving funding, so that we can help see some change or improvements uh, in the loss of threats. So, the community that I'm going to be kind of going over a little bit is the community of Kenai. Have a little map there, it's a little fuzzy, but it's located down from Anchorage near Soldotna. It's got a decent population of around 7,000 to 8,000. This was of 2018, 2019. Uh, and looking at some of the stats, they have a poverty rate that is 8.9. It's quite high, as we know in Alaska. Their crime rate, which this is one of the largest numbers that I've seen, is 207.51% above the national average, um, which is incredibly high. And so when I saw that, I thought, well, why is that? Why are they seeing such a high rate? What are those root causes that are influencing it to be such a dangerous place to live? And it is the second most insecure area uh, that I could find in Alaska. Some of the other places are just right around this area. We can see areas like Anchorage, due to its high population and infrastructure. A lot of threats can plague that area. Um, and as we know, and we've talked about in previous lessons, Alaska is the highest rate of sexual assault in the country, being four times its national average. And as I'll go over here in a second, I think that is one of the root causes that can cause insecurities in a community. So this is my little root cause analysis. On one side, I have some of the insecurities that I think are the biggest threat. Obviously, we have domestic abuse, we have homicide. I meant to also put in there blatant burglaries or other crimes, sexual abuse, and overall poverty. Um, and when we look at the root causes, why are these things occurring in the community? Um, from what I can tell, it is coming down to substance abuse, economic security in specific communities, law enforcement, whether there being a lack of or incorrect law enforcement not doing their job correctly, and public resources for the people, which I'll also go over. So here's the current situation that we have in Kenai. You have high rates of assault. These are mainly affecting women, who are kind of targeted. Increases in uses of alcohol and other drugs in the state that have slowly kind of come into communities that had no exposure to these beforehand. Um, is really a problem, is causing people to not really use them responsibly, or if they should not be used at all, what are the repercussions, and the high cost of living um, compared to other communities in Alaska. These high rates of living compared with their extremely low incomes can cause kind of stresses on the community that we see later on. Here, this I found some really good stats here, especially the one on the left. I understand it's from 2016, but you can see the differences between Alaska as a whole, the community of Kenai, and then we go to the national. And so, obviously, unfortunately, Alaska is kind of leading in almost all of these compared to the national levels. But then we look at Kenai specifically. And one thing that is extremely high is the number of rape incidences in Kenai. Why is this the case? What is not being secured in the community that can prevent these things? Why is it on an existential, sorry about that, rise year after year, not really seeing kind of a slowdown of it? Looking at possible improvements, um, I have a couple of opinions, but from what I can understand, is that increasing for funding for Alaska law enforcement would be one of the biggest things. Um, when law enforcement isn't supervised or given enough resources for training um, or other uses, we kind of see breakdowns in other forms of security, whether that be economic security or personal security. It all affects the community. And this would not just include law enforcement such as the police, it would also include VSPO and other areas such as shelters for women that are being abused sexually or domestically. Secondly, I believe that teaching education at the youngest level for children is extremely important, that they're notified of the threats posed in their community. What can they do to assist? And also, what can they do if they become a victim of one of these threats, such as sexual assault? They need to know that they have an area that they can go to, so that's not just them by themselves. And obviously, finally, controlling substances such as alcohol. Some of these communities have gone, as we've heard of, dry completely or damp, meaning they limit the sale of alcohol. Maybe that should be done in more areas or done more effectively so that we see lower rates of substance abuse in these communities with high domestic and sexual assaults. Finally, just wanted to go ahead and talk about the Jody Potts interview. This was really interesting because, as I said in class, I've never really heard of the VPSO, and I don't think it's given the credit it deserves. Seeing that they're not just law enforcement, they do so many other things. They're emergency personnel that help with medical emergencies, missing persons, evacuations, several of other things. And doing more research into it, I was surprised, that they don't get paid what they should. The turnover rate is high, training costs are high, and I think that if we want to have sound people in communities that need help, they should be getting paid correctly. Obviously, when she was talking about, how cases for some women, all the information was not being reported correctly, or actually some cases were not being reported at all. It was pretty troubling to hear. And so I think going back to the first thing that maybe increasing the fundings a little bit would help to have a better oversight of these VPSO officers to make sure that they're doing their job correctly and they have the resources to do it correctly. Um, Other than that, I just have some references here. First document is just that Safer World document that really does a good job of going over community security, its aspects, and what it's really about, how it can be different. And I thought it was really useful. Other than that, that is all I got. Thanks, guys.